Hello everybody, I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, and this is another one of our series of Shining the Light where it needs to be shown. And today, I have the opportunity to talk to our county clerk, Miss Kellie Jackson. Kellie, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And Kellie is an elected official, and I'm gonna say it before we get into this conversation. She's not running again, and I'm sad about that, and I think there's a whole lot of people that are sad about it, but I tell you, I think once we get into this interview and you hear what her life's been like in her life of public service, you're gonna say, you know what, Kellie, it's probably good for you that you're not running again. It's time to take a break.
I'm ready.
So let's start off by talking about Kellie Jackson. Just start wherever you want to. The day you were born, it doesn't matter, but get us to where we are today.
All right. Well,
This is going to take a while.
It is.
This part, yeah, what you're fixing to tell
Okay.
us.
You don't want it short and sweet.
No, I want everybody to know.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised, educated in Clarksville. My dad was military, so that's the reason why we ended up here. Left at 18, thought I would never come back to Clarksville, went to school in Nashville, came back at 19 and thought, I don't ever want to leave, it's my home. So I married Ron Jackson, who was a local man as well, and our families were all here, so I stayed here. Started my job or career in the first location was a local attorney in town, and I did a lot of work with Chancery Court. So when a position came open in Chancery Court, the ladies there that I'd worked with asked me to come over and work there. So I loved what I did for Chancery Court.
When did you start with Chancery Court?
That was in '86.
Okay.
So I worked there about 5.5 years. Ended up going to the Sheriff's Department for another 9 years. When I was working for the Sheriff's Department, when the tornado occurred in 1999.
Okay, let's hit pause, because I didn't know this till yesterday. You were the first female lieutenant in the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office.
I was.
I did not know that till yesterday. I think that's so
I was very
awesome.
proud of that, but I don't talk about that.
Okay,
That was a long
so,
time.
so keep going. So you were with the Sheriff's Office when the tornado hit in '99?
Yes. And our then mayor, Doug Weiland, needed space because the courthouse was devastated. So I was managing the facility for the CJC, which is now the PSC. So they needed to move in. So we moved them in. I worked with him for a few years. While the construction of the court center started happening, he asked me to be owner's representative to kind of bridge the gap and be the liaison between the users and the architects and engineers, and trying to make sure we had the best facility possible, user-friendly. So I did that for 3 years, and I actually split my time between Mayor Weiland and the sheriff. They kind of shared me. My job duties were varied in both departments, but about the last year of construction, before they were going to open the facilities, they asked me to apply for the facility management position.
Right.
So I interviewed and was appointed to that. We opened the facilities, 4 years after the date of the tornado, and I think it was just a great success. I had a great team that I worked with, just from architects, engineers, users. We did research. We took judges to Washington, D.C. and looked at their facilities, what they had successes with, failures with. We just wanted to walk in everybody's shoes to make sure that facility was useful for everybody.
Okay, so I want to stop right here before you keep going, because I hear it today. I heard it last year. I heard it the year before that. Our building's 21 years old, our court center building, but everybody still talks about how nice it is, the technologies that are there, all of that. And you were a big part of that.
I was, but I had a great team. So I really appreciate that. It was so much fun. I will never forget when Mayor Weiland asked me to be the owner's representative. I was like, I know nothing about construction, and I've never worn a hard hat. So, but we made it, and I worked with Brady Johnson and Lane Lyle and Gary Ham. There were several people involved in that, but we made a great team and made that and the courthouse work. And I think everybody's still really proud of them, which is great.
Without a doubt. So you did that. The building opened.
Mm-hmm.
You were the facility manager, for lack of a better words, and then go from there.
So I did that about 4 years, and then when Wilma Dry announced she was retiring from the county clerk's position, I had been in that office working, doing some historic projects for county commissioners that are the photographs and
Right.
bios and stuff that are hanging in the courthouse. So I kind of got a little bit familiar with it and decided I wanted to run for that position to see what I could do there. So in 2006, I was elected, and then I've been elected every time since then. Thank goodness I haven't had any major competition. So, so this will be my 16th year.
Wow.
now, so.
Does it seem like that long?
No, it's flown by.
Yeah.
Absolutely flown
Yeah.
by. But I enjoy it.
So there's some questions I want to ask you about the clerk's office. And one of the questions is what a typical day is, and maybe to ask you, what is it the clerk's office doesn't do?
Doesn't do.
Yeah, I mean, y'all don't issue building
The
permits.
legislature hasn't thought of it yet. That we always say if they need something done and they don't have an obvious office to assign it to, they assign it to us.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about all the things y'all do, but I really truly want to go back to 2006 and where we were, with no disrespect to the previous clerk or the previous clerks or anybody, but where we are in 2006 to where we are today, I think is absolutely phenomenal. I think one of the things that you really, you care about is the customer service aspect of it. And I know since I've been mayor that everything y'all have come to the county commission to ask for is really about customer service related. And that's big for you, isn't it?
It is. I realized very quickly that average wait time when I went in office was 45 minutes for the
Wow.
customers. And when customers have to wait that long, come to the window, they're aggravated and frustrated because their time's valuable. So that was the first thing that I concentrated on, and we made a lot of changes. We added a lot of technology and software and websites and things like that really helped. But I have a great staff. I can't brag on them enough, but they understand that customer's time is very valuable.
Yeah.
When the customer doesn't have to wait, they're more friendly. So it worked out for everybody. Our average wait time now is less than 5 minutes.
That is unbelievable.
So, well, thank you. So,
That is unbelievable.
and I appreciate your support, the commissioner's support, the previous mayor's support. I go in there with statistical information so that you'll know this is what our volume of growth is, and we can't continue to provide that amount of service in a timely fashion with the growth we've had.
And that's still happening today too.
It is still happening today. I don't miss many county commission budget hearings that I'm not in there saying, okay, we've got this many more.
Yeah, and I think something that probably I didn't realize, because my background was kind of in city government, and you probably knew this as long as you've worked in county government, but y'all are, like, for all the commission meetings and all of that, y'all are the record keeper. There's a word for it, I know, but I mean, every county commission meeting, y'all are there, y'all record all the votes, y'all certify all the resolutions, y'all do all that.
We are the official record keeper for like you said, for lack of a better word, but all of those historic value records have to be filed and preserved in our office. But we do so many other things other than just motor vehicle registration. That's just a small part of it, even though that's one of the visible parts. But we issue marriage license, we do business license, we do hunting and fishing license,
Passports.
we do passports, we do a lot of passports. I mean, and that's a service that's not required of our office,
Right.
but we chose to do it because there was a need in the community. And the only other place to do it, I think, is the post office, and they don't have near the staff that we do. But that's a lot of training and extra work. My people have to be certified agents to be able to accept the passport applications, and you don't realize how many things they have to look for in that customer's application
Right.
to make sure that we're not saying, this person's qualified when they're
Right.
not. Maybe they have ill intentions, etc. So it's a lot of additional duties and training, but we're
Well, I know
glad to offer it.
there's some things that people come in, there's like 6, 8, 10 boxes that y'all have to check before you can do what you're gonna do.
Absolutely.
So it's not just, hey, I wanna do this. It's a lot of stuff that y'all have to do.
There is.
I don't like talking about it. I wanna talk about COVID for a minute though.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, Governor Lee had a bunch of executive orders. One of them, he suspended all the vehicle registrations, and everybody's like, well, the clerk's office, they don't need to do anything. But it didn't stop there.
Did not stop.
And for you, was that, I know it was hard because it was hard for everybody, but because of all the things that come in, like when COVID hit, a lot of people bought vehicles.
They did. They had stimulus money.
Yeah, and so titles.
Our numbers
Talk
still,
about some of those things that y'all kind of had to work through.
with COVID.
Yeah,
So part of it was all the executive orders were changing very rapidly. So we would create policies and procedures, and 24 hours later, you throw them out the window and you start over. And when you have, we have truly 1,000 customers a day in our office. And toward the end of the month, we wait on about 2,000 for 5 days. So being forward, the first face that the customer sees, even moving into Clarksville, we're one of the first places they come.
Right.
But those customers have to, in most instances, see us if they're titling a vehicle, unless they went through a dealership, that kind of thing. But it was a big challenge, especially when lobbies started closing down and we were tried to force, to go home and work remote. Our job is 10 times harder to work remote because we can't get the information from the customer. We can't, we didn't have cell phones for everybody to go home and call from. We had lots of technology issues, and we have a great IT staff that helped us tremendously with that. We did end up doing some things remote for a while. We separated offices. That was a huge challenge to create how a separate office is gonna work in 24 hours.
Yeah, because we're in Veterans Plaza now, and you're down at the far end, but we turned Civic Hall into the clerk's office.
We did.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of difficult decision, but we made it work. Everybody else did too. We couldn't allow public, my staff laughs because when COVID actually kind of became, I think, escalated, you and I had worked together and gotten plexiglass between our employee and the customer to help, and then all of a sudden lobbies started closing down. You were telling people the numbers are higher and they need to stay home and that kind of thing. So I was actually on my way back to the office when a lot of that happened, and I told my staff, I said, we're gonna cut holes in the glass. We have to get to that customer. That customer has to be able to give us documentation. And they thought, is she okay? She's telling us we're gonna cut holes in all these glass doors and windows. But it worked out great, thank goodness. But you just had to make do.
Yeah.
You had to make changes.
I think at one time, y'all even for some of the car dealers, didn't y'all have like a lock box outside that the car dealers they'd come and drop that stuff in there? What people don't realize, and I don't think is during COVID, when you were supposed to be separating yourself from 6 feet and social distancing and all those things, everybody still didn't know if it was transferable from a piece of paper or stuff. So y'all had all these different people handling stuff, and then it comes out, y'all gotta open the box and pick it up, and 15, 20 different people have put stuff in that box. And then even in your drive-through, you're handling stuff that somebody's handling. And so I know it was a lot of anxiety that went to your office too.
Our employees, in the beginning, they suggested you don't touch paperwork for 3 days.
Yeah.
So we were doing a lot of sanitizing, glove wearing. We did require the dealerships to leave the paperwork, and we wouldn't touch it for 3 days. We had baskets waiting for us, full of work because we didn't know. In the same way in the drive-thru, they were wearing masks, they were wearing gloves, it was just a lot, sanitizing all the time. But and county maintenance helped several times. They came in and fogged our office. We had several employees that had gotten it, and that's really hard too, because you were talking about anxiety when their coworkers start getting sick. And I had one of our employees that was a week away from delivering a child that got sick, and that's really scary.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad it's eased up, and I hope it stays that way.
Me too.
It was a lot.
Me too.
A lot of extra.
I don't know if there is a typical day in the life of the county clerk, but what would a typical day look like?
Obviously busy. We just did statistical information for this year for the budget, and, people would probably be surprised to know we actually assisted 386,000 customers in 1 year.
Wow,
That's a huge number.
that's big.
The average family normally uses our services 4 times a year, and it could be just a renewal, they purchased a new car, a marriage, passport, we
Mhm.
talked about all those services, hunting and fishing licenses, boat registration. So yeah, the average family uses it 4 times, so every family that moves into Clarksville, immediately we have 4 extra customers.
Wow.
But we have 386,000 that we've waited on last year.
But I know you're very big on stats and you're very big on wait times and customer service and all that, but I know your typical day is just not sitting at the desk either though.
Oh, no. We call it putting out fires. We put out fires constantly. Of course, there's lots to do when you have that many customers coming in, you have 48 employees. There's a lot of, admin things that go on all day long, every day. And that's probably 50 to 60% of what we do is just management of the entire operation. But the other 40% is all of those customers that come in that have unusual circumstances that we may have to do additional research. We may have to reach out to get them help. I'm not one for instance, if somebody comes up and they've lost a spouse recently, I'm not gonna say, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to have this document come back. You have compassion for those people and you wanna help them. So we do go overboard in trying to help the customers, as much as we can to, receive we'll tell them, email it to us, we'll, get it and have a seat in the lobby for a second. As soon as we get that, we'll call you back up here. We don't like turning customers away unless we have to. But a lot of it is just truly solving problems.
Yeah. And so many people probably walk in that door without everything they need.
They do.
Yeah, and that makes it really, really tough, doesn't it?
It's about 20% of our customers that we have to have, a power of attorney or a will or whatever the case may be, that their circumstance requires those documents. It's about 20%, and that's hard because you don't want to make them go away and come back. You don't. So we try to do everything we can to help.
No, and I have to laugh, but I can just remember you calling me and during COVID, and the only thing that was open was the drive up. You're like, they're backed up all the way to Paget Lane. You got to do something. And then we had I can laugh about it now, and it's really not a laughing matter, but we had the dynamic of your drive-through being open and the testing site.
Yes.
And
they were converging.
Everybody's just going every which way, and so you don't know if you're getting in line to get a marriage license or you're getting in line to get tested for COVID. So it was.
And the sheriff's department helped us out.
Yeah. So talk about some short-term challenges in the clerk's office.
Short term's probably like everyone else. We have staffing issues right now, and I know the pay study that the county is doing will be beneficial, hopefully for that. But it's not only the salaries. It's that a lot of people want to work from home, and we can't offer that. We have very, very few positions that we could even attempt to let someone work remotely.
Right.
So I think the whole dynamic's shifting. Applicants are requiring more of what they want instead of what the job needs.
Right.
So that's probably the biggest thing right now is staffing and just growth, overall growth.
Yeah. Do you think long-term growth is probably the biggest challenge?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, I know you're in your budget this year. You've got a little small renovation to be able. What is it? 5 more seats.
Correct.
And the
way
way you're growing, it won't last 5 years, will it? Yeah.
No, and then that's kind of been our average. We have to add at least 1 a year, sometimes 2, depending on if the legislature's given us. A couple years ago, I asked for 2 because we were going to take on 16,000 more noting of liens that the state used to do. They closed their public counter, so that all came back to the locals. So it's also dependent on new laws and requirements for us.
Speaking of the legislature, I know you've been very involved with the Tennessee County Clerks Association. You've been president of that. Congratulations. But I know you're very involved with legislation too. Talk a little bit about some of that stuff. Because I know your association and you personally, I mean, you've been to Nashville because a lot of things the legislature does has a huge impact on your office.
It does. I was privileged that my peers, asked me to be the legislative chair for 5 years in a row, so I was in Nashville a lot. And it's very interesting to see how many bills are filed that affect our office.
Right.
It's constant, whether it's, this year they had the big common law marriage bill. We've had the noting of lien bill where they gave us 16,000 more customers. They constantly approve new license plates. And sometimes it's 15 or 20 a year, and I felt like a lot of the smaller county clerk's offices don't even have a place to store those types of things.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of logistical things that I would testify and say, here's what it's gonna do to us. Here's our pros, here's our cons. And a lot of the bills, some of them we supported and some of them we, didn't support, but most of them we stayed neutral. I was just there to say, here's what it's gonna do to my citizens, here's what it's gonna do to our office, our county.
Right.
So I did get very involved, and I enjoyed that very much, because I felt like I was helping not only our office and our community, but across the state to let us be.
Yeah, and I think when you look around the state, the way our state's made up of the 95 counties, we have a whole lot of rural counties.
Mhm.
And so they may do something that wouldn't have a big impact on a rural county, but on a county our size, it's significant.
It is.
You mentioned this, and I'm gonna ask you this question. License plates. So there's all this controversy out there about the license plate can't be read by one of those readers and all that stuff. What's the scoop on that?
The last we've heard, there was a committee that actually studied that before the approval went out and the plates started being issued. But I think Department of Safety is very involved in that at this point. And my understanding, the last thing that I heard was they're working with the companies that produce the readers to fine tune how they, read the plate.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like those readers, but it is what it is.
I don't think there's any conversation at this point to reprint or recall any of those plates.
Well, and I think the other day I said something to you, I'm not a big fan of the blue, but you were like, that's what the people.
They did.
That's what
the
they
governor
wanted.
put it out there for the public to vote, and that's the one they chose.
Yeah. So if somebody's gonna come to work for the clerk's office, why do you tell them it's a good place to work?
First and foremost, they have to like the challenge. They have to like to be busy. But the best thing that I could say is my employees are like family. They help each other, they support each other. They've all been in those shoes when they were the first one in and didn't know how to do anything and felt helpless. But it's just the staff and the camaraderie. I always say there's not a lot of drama or turmoil in my office because they're too busy to have any of that. But it really is. They're very, very supportive of each other. I get tickled sometimes when I hire a new employee because it's normally a couple of weeks before they'll say, I had no idea you were this busy, and I had no idea I had to learn this much. Because they think we just renew a registration, and that's a 2-minute process. They don't know those titles and other things that are very involved. So I just think it's a great place to work.
I think one of the things that I've observed, and I hadn't been in your office a bunch, but I've been in there several times. Everybody in there just always seems like they're in a good mood. And I know it's tough. I know that there's people that come up to those windows that aren't very nice, that are rude. If they forgot something, it's not their fault, it's your clerk's fault. But every time I go in there, everybody's just, they're just happy. They're happy, and I attribute so much of that to you, but they are a very tight-knit bunch, aren't they?
They really, really are.
Yeah.
And they know, and that's probably the thing that hurts me the most is when I see somebody be so rude to them, and I know how hard they're working and know how hard they're trying. The employees get cursed at and, angry customers constantly, but they've learned to roll it off their back, and we always tell them, it's not personal, they're just mad at the situation, but they truly band together so well. My supervisors are superstars, in my opinion. They just go out of their way to make sure the employees feel comfortable and know the information and give them training.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So you've lived here all your life except for when you were 18 and you wanted to get out of Clarksville, and
1 year.
You came back and you were like, never gonna leave. What would you tell somebody, and most people that come in your office have already moved here, but if you met somebody that was thinking about moving here, why would you tell them to move to Montgomery County?
That would probably be the people as well. I use this as another example. I just interviewed a lady that was from New York, and I said, what brought you to Clarksville? And she said, I came here to visit, and she said, I was shocked. People were nice. They let me cross the road without honking at me, and they waved and they smiled, and she said, I decided this is where I want to raise my family. I don't want to be in the environment where I don't feel like people are friendly to my children.
Right.
So I think it's the people. People here are just always very welcoming.
Yeah, and that's so good to hear too. I know it feels good to you, having lived here all your life. You said that part of the tempo that y'all work is Fort Campbell.
Mm-hmm. And that's a huge challenge for
Yeah.
us. And we go out of our way to try to assist them as well, because a lot of times they, what people don't know is if they have Tennessee as their home of record, or what they call the state tax record, they can still renew here. So they may be stationed anywhere in the world, and they can still renew with us. So, a lot of times that's an extra 30, 40,000 renewals that we're doing, title transactions, etc. So they have their own challenges as far as, being deployed when renewals are come due, or, they get sales tax exemption on vehicles, so they have to provide, orders to Fort Campbell and prove that they're still here, and, we have a lot of documentation that we need from them, but it's great to be able to serve them. They obviously serve us very well. So
what do you think is one of the most gratifying things that throughout your career with the county, one of the most gratifying things that you've been a part of?
Probably a couple come to mind. The court center was definitely a huge.
That's why I said during your whole career, because that has to be something you're very proud of.
I really felt like, as a mother, they were my children. I watched them from, paper to the mud in the ground to pylons to going all the way up, and then how to create the policies and procedures that made it run well. So that was definitely a highlight. But also, I think in my current position, the highlight is just making a plan of succession and being able to mentor those leaders and employees that I feel like, the customers deserve to have a well-trained staff. That's what they pay us to do. And I feel good being able to retire and know that I'm leaving it with several people in that office that could run the office eventually. Teresa Cottrell, who's my chief deputy, is going to be the next county clerk. And she and I worked side by side for 15 years, and she's fabulous. And the customers it will be so seamless. I mean, the transition's going to be great because she knows what she's doing. She's learned, like I said, we've worked together for 15 years.
Yeah.
So that to me is a goal, to know that we've mentored people to come up and be able to carry on the effective service.
Well, Teresa's running unopposed, but I think that's something that I struggle with. I don't know that I struggle with, but I worry about. If it had been 5 people in Teresa's race, you really, you want to leave the clerk's office as good or better as it was the day you walked in there. And that's just who Kellie Jackson is. And not having, and this sounds controlling, but it's not, but not knowing who that's gonna be, it can create a lot of anxiety.
It can.
It truly can.
And we feel very blessed. When I ran in 06, there were 5 people in the race. There was someone from within the office, and then the other 4 of us were not. And at that time, I think the outside eyes looking in gave me a huge benefit. Because I did get to evaluate, why do we do it this way? And it took me several months. I don't think I made the first change for 3 months because I wanted to observe and listen.
Right. And Miss Dry had been clerk a long time.
She had.
And she chose not to run.
She did. She retired.
And so it was, to some degree, it was going to be a set of fresh eyes, but somebody coming from outside the office, I always think those are, and somebody lost, and I'm sorry for that, but I think that's always a good thing when a set of eyes from the outside come and look.
And I do think at that time it was, I think this time, it's very beneficial that we can have continuity. I think it's, you get some of both. Some offices really need a fresh set of eyes. I think we've been proactive enough that, I know you call me a lame duck because I've only got a few months left.
You used the word, not me, so I want everybody to know, she used it, not me.
But we've moved forward. We're still planning the expansion. We're still planning new policies and procedures to make it better. We haven't let up. We're gonna work to the very end.
Yeah.
And Teresa and I've worked together so well, she knows it. She'll just be able to continue on.
I know, because you called me yesterday
I do.
about something, and so I
did.
won't go into what that is, but you called me yesterday about it. So she is truly not a lame duck. So let me ask you this: is it gonna be hard to step away?
It will. It
Yeah.
will. I feel like we've accomplished a lot there, but there's always going to be other things you want to do to make
Yeah.
it better. I'm going to miss my staff tremendously and the people in the county. I've built relationships with people in every office
Yeah.
in the county, especially since I worked for five different offices, which is a little unusual
Yeah.
in the county. But I'm going to miss the people for sure.
Yeah.
But I'll come back.
What are you gonna do?
Ron and I plan on traveling a lot. Ron has been retired 2 years. So I don't know. I really told him, I've worked 35 years straight from September 1st to January. I don't want to make any decisions. I want to just be at peace, enjoy the holidays, and then I'll decide.
That's so awesome.
I'll decide.
Good for you.
Volunteered for some more boards and
Yeah.
things like that. I don't want to completely drop out. I still want to volunteer, so.
Well, that's good. I don't think you'll ever quit, because it's not in you.
It's not.
It's
I'm not
in
going to
you.
sit around.
I know you won't. You've had a great career in public service, and I know you'll still be involved in public service. And I know Teresa's going to do a great job, but I can promise you the people down there will miss you. I'll miss serving with you, and you've been nothing but just an outstanding public servant. So I want to say thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And congratulations to you on your retirement. We are definitely going to miss you too.
Well, you wouldn't have missed me because you were going to leave anyway.
Well, we'll miss your leadership.
Well, thank you.
The county will. as
I'm
well.
going to miss being involved with a bunch of superstars. I really am. So thank you for what
You're
you
one
do.
of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.